The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission is hosting leaders of the 18 registered political parties in Nigeria to update them on preparations for the 2023 general elections, as well as the off-season elections in Ekiti and Osun states. This is the first time INEC is holding a meeting with political parties since the 2022 Electoral Act was signed in February this year.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen,
the leadership of political parties are well represented at this meeting, and they appeal to INEC to extend the timeline for party primaries by 2 months.
The General Assembly of IPAC, after an exhaustive examination of the INEC timetable and related issues, arrived at an unanimous decision to request for an extension of 2 months to the deadline of the time frame for the conduct of the party primaries and resolution of conflicts arising from the primaries. By implication, the IPAC leadership is appealing to the INEC to extend the deadline for the conduct of party primaries and the resolution of ensuing conflicts from the present INEC given date of 3rd June 2022 to 9th of July 2022.
This request seems to be a no-no for the INEC chairman, who urges all political parties to comply with the timelines of elections and conduct their primaries within the stipulated time.
I hereby reiterate the position of the Commission that there will be no review of the timelines. There are so many interrelated activities that are associated with the timelines which must be carried out.
INEC had in February this year reviewed the timetable for the 2023 general elections and fixed February 25th, 2023 for the presidential and National Assembly elections and March the 11th for governorship and state houses of assembly elections. Political parties were also asked to conduct their primaries between April 4 and June the 3rd.
Well, INEC has since, of course, moved that deadline for the conduct of the primaries and the upload of the, the names and details of the candidates of the political parties for next year's election. But there's been a lot of reaction to that one. First, the People's Democratic Party saying, well, you can't move the goalpost right in the middle of the game. And just recently, we had the Transition Monitoring Group also putting out a statement saying, well, we don't think this is too good. But let's help you understand the implications, at least from the side of the civil society. INEC has given explanation saying, well, we had a window anyway for the upload. So instead of just leaving all that time for upload, we thought we could also allow the political parties conduct their primaries within that same window. So it's not as though we're changing much. It's just using free time and converting it for something else. And to discuss this with us, we have Mr. Rafsanjani, who is a chairman, Transition Monitoring Group, which is a civil society election observation organization, is also head of CISLAC, Amnesty International Nigeria, and TI. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you.
Mr.
Good morning.
Rafsanjani. Well, your group put out that statement, and for the benefit of those who may have not seen that or who are wondering, what is the furor about? What exactly is the crux of your matter?
We're deeply concerned that the Independent Electoral Commission confidence on Nigerians might be tampered with, because Nigerians are beginning to trust the leadership of INEC, and if they can see this contradictory and deliberate attempt to favor one political party out of 17, might create confidence building problems. And we don't want to go into election with such kind of feeling. That's number one. Number two, when the collective political parties led by IPAC requested INEC to give them time, INEC categorically, clearly told the whole world that they will not grant that, and simply because there were going to be interrelated activities, so there will not be any space. Now, we were just wondering what may have changed, that only one political party, that's the ruling party, demanded for the extension and they were granted. That can send a wrong signal to other political parties and other Nigerians to say that INEC is no more independent and autonomous. So INEC must do everything possible to be fair to all the political parties and must also not be seen as a stooge of the ruling party. If they allow Nigerians to have that perception, then it means that INEC image respect will have gone down. And also,
it wasn't, just to clarify, that the APC was not heard verbally asking for a shift in date. It was IPAC, the Inter-Party Advisory Council.
Their request was turned down, as you can see from the meeting that they had with the INEC. That's number one. And then it is on the basis of that turned down.
Whose request? IPAC's request?
IPAC requested INEC to extend the timetable.
Indeed.
INEC said no. And it was on the basis of no that other political parties have gone ahead to conduct their primaries. So it is only fair, to stand on that position. And if you are going to have any changes, you must explain to Nigerians, not on the basis of a particular party that has postponed it on, remember, the ruling party postponed it on primaries. And it was in the middle of one other political parties were doing that. So the impression that will be given, it is because the ruling party did not want to do this, and that is why it happens. I'm saying it is perception. I'm not even making a categorical allegation. I'm saying that let them de-escalate that perception so that it will not look as if it is the ruling party that directed them to do that. Okay, it's very important in confidence building.
Let us listen to what INEC itself had to say when it decided to postpone or give the political parties more room to conduct their polls.
The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, meets the leaders of various political parties in the country at the commission's headquarters in Abuja. At least 13 political parties are represented at this meeting, including the ruling All Progressives Congress APC, but conspicuously absent is the People's Democratic Party.
Requested.
The national chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC, Mr. Yaba Gisani, appeals to the INEC chairman to allow political parties to use the 6-day period between 4th and 9th of June to conclude their primaries.
Kindly take a second look at the timetable, which we considered tight in respect of the fact that we are putting this electoral law 2022 to test for the first time, and the fact that anything you are doing for the first time, you may, make some mistakes.
This is not the first time political party leaders will be approaching INEC with a request. INEC had emphatically rejected the previous request to extend the timetable by 37 to 60 days. However, this time the Commission's chairman accepts to give the request a consideration.
The request the last time was for an extension of between 37 and 60 days. On this, the position of the Commission has not changed. It appears that the parties have now presented a modified request for what the chairman calls a little adjustment. We will now discuss further to understand the basis for requesting this little adjustment, and thereafter the Commission will meet and a statement will be issued.
And later in the day, INEC releases a statement announcing a 6-day extension for political parties to conclude their primaries. The statement reads, quote, "The Commission has decided to allow the request of the political parties since the 6-day period does not conflict with the next scheduled activity, which is the submission of the list of nominated candidates," end of quote. It, however, says the request is granted in respect of outstanding primaries only, without prejudice to those already concluded by political parties. The implication of this extension is that the June 3rd deadline will now be extended and perhaps give the parties time to resolve all legal and logistics problems that have arisen in the course of conducting their primary elections. Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
Well, Mr. Rafsanjani, I'm sure that if you look at it, INEC really was very circumspect in terms of how it approved this shift of date, shift of the deadline of submission of candidates. In light of the request by IPAC that it consider that, you wouldn't agree?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, these Nigerians have already, had this perception that it was because one of the political parties had decided to shift its own primaries. That is why, and because, many Nigerians have this feeling that our electoral body is still not independent. That is why this thing happens. And that's why I say we need to do everything possible as a country to sustain this confidence building that the electoral body is having on Nigerians. Once Nigerians begin to lose confidence on our electoral body, then there will be a challenge. Secondly, which is the most important thing, you see, this attempt of shifting may graduate to another evil thing that some people will be canvassing very soon if you continue to grant this frivolous shifting. Some people, they will now begin to mount the idea of saying that, oh, let's even postpone the election. We don't want any situation like that to happen. That's why INEC took its time, come up with a schedule, timetable schedule, which Nigerians uploaded them for that. But these 6 days that we are now giving is going to be a concern to other political parties whom, because initially they all collectively requested and he turned it down. Now, who sent the request to INEC to guarantee this thing? Obviously, it is not the collective of other political parties, because if it was, you would have seen that all of them would have been there. But it is completely not fair when other political parties are conducting the exercise based on your own decline of their request to now grant it to maybe 1 or 2 political parties 13. That have not done, 13 political parties that have not done their primaries. I don't think, it is fair. But like I said, the most important thing is that INEC must sustain the public confidence. Secondly, INEC must not also listen to evil people who will say, let's shift the election, because they want to test the water. And that is why we in civil society are concerned that we must not create crisis in our democratic consolidation. INEC had issued timetable. We must respect that. And of course, you need to give room for litigation, possible litigation. So these 6 days that they are talking about, that is pre, is not pre, like the INEC had earlier on said, that there will be interrelated activities. So that is really contradiction. So all we are saying as civil society is that let's make sure that there's a fairness in the contest, in the political space. We don't want a situation whereby we will go to this election, political parties, even if they genuinely fail, they will now be capitalizing of the fact that maybe the electoral body is not fair or is biased. That is why we want to caution INEC to be careful in taking such kind of decision, especially when it seems to be coming from the ruling party.
Well, that's the reason I'm asking you. Well, the statement I made was that when you look at it objectively, it does appear that INEC was circumspect in terms of the amount of time that it approved, the time frame that it approved. It's still within, nothing really major has been affected in the schedule by the approval it has given for a new submission or deadline for the submission of candidates. That's what I'm asking.
No, the point we are also making is simple. Yes, nothing fundamental has changed, but you have already created psychological tension that some people, whether you like it or not, they will be doubting the credibility of the body, and we don't want that to happen. That's number one. Number two.
Do you think we have a duty to try and change? I mean, all of us, because you've said INEC should try and change that impression. But don't you think we all bear that responsibility to ensure that the electorate retains confidence in the umpire?
The only way we can continue to do that is to ensure that the body, the electoral body, is also doing what is right. Secondly, we also need to make sure that the political parties also behave in a manner that it could help to create that confidence or to sustain that confidence, because their action or inaction can also affect the credibility, of the whole system. So it is important that INEC become more consistent, and be, fair to everyone, every political parties, so that it will not undermine the confidence that, we're talking about. We are helping to ensure that Nigerians have belief in our electoral system. Because if we don't have belief in our electoral system, it means that people will not even participate in the electoral process. And you see the consequences of not participating actively by Nigerians. At the end of the day, you surrender your will to people who don't even deserve to be. This whole issue of delegating is a pointer to the fact that many people who are supposed to be at the party level, at local, state, and national level, are not involved. And you only have a finished product. So by the time you come, they mortgage, they do the trading. But if you have responsible, competent, quality people with experience who are not going to be, selling their conscience and their country, they cannot, this kind of delegate, buying that we are talking about, you will not see them. But because Nigerians, they don't bother to go into party politics, contest at the party level, so that they can have, you can have some quality, people at the party leadership at all level, ward, and all of those structures in our country. That's why we will not finish, we will not see the end of this delegate mess. If you have competent, qualified, responsible Nigerians occupying, those so-called delegates position, we will not see the kind of trading we are seeing.
And that's a major point you have made, but we have to anchor at this point. We were hoping to have INEC speak on this as well, especially on that point of, the perceived independence of INEC and what people think about it, but clearly not today. But we do hope to have INEC in the coming days. But for now, we'll have to thank you so much, Mr. Rafsanjani, who is the chairman of a transition monitoring group, a civil society election observation organization. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.